faithfully delivering value and exploring the world's best books. Hi there, this is Sally with Book Talk. Today, I'll be interpreting for you the philosophical essay, The Human Earth, by French author Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. You might not recognize the name Saint-Exupéry, but his masterpiece, The Little Prince, is surely familiar to you. This worldwide bestseller, a philosophical fairy tale, has a readership in the West second only to the Bible. In this story, the pilot who observes the little prince's melancholic life is Saint-Exupéry himself. You could say that Saint-Exupéry's writings are deeply tied to his extraordinary life. He was a pilot who started performing high-risk postal flights from age 28. To deliver mail and goods and to pioneer new routes, he flew over deserts, mountains, and straits countless times, facing immense dangers. He suffered serious injuries from crashes, with one time having 8 fractures, but after each recovery, he went back to flying. In 1940, Saint-Exupéry was honored by the French Air Ministry with the Croix de Guerre medal. While on flying duties, he penned several novels, drawing from his experiences like Pilot, Southern Mail, and Night Flight, with Night Flight winning France's notable literary prize, the Prix Femina. His writings even inspired a surge of young French people signing up to become Air Force pilots. Today, I'm introducing The Human Earth, a philosophical essay by Saint-Exupéry. I Published in 1939, it immediately won the Grand Prix du Roman from the French Academy, and later its English version became a bestseller in Europe and America, also earning the National Book Award. In The Human Earth, he recounts his and his colleagues' thrilling aviation experiences, discussing humanity's bond with the earth and our purpose in the world. Right at the start, Saint-Exupéry lays out what the earth means to us. He says that farmers created farming tools, a wooden stick or an iron plow, to conquer survival challenges. And through generations of toil, they coaxed food from the land. Similarly, the airplane is a tool, and pilots soaring above are really wrestling with the earth. He wrote that we learn about ourselves from the earth, as it's wild and untamed, and only by battling it do we find our worth. You could say this was Saint-Exupéry's personal experience as a pilot. Then he began recalling various sights and experiences from his early days as a postal pilot. In 1926, 26-year-old Saint-Exupéry officially joined a postal aviation company as a trainee pilot. Postal aviation was the fastest method for long-distance cargo transport. The company mainly operated routes between Toulouse, France, and Dakar, Afghanistan. At the same time, the company recruited pilots to open new routes and expand transoceanic transport operations. During training, Saint-Exupéry flew trainer aircraft accompanied by veteran pilots. There was a veteran pilot named Billy who narrowly escaped death on one mission. Seeing him eating with head down and brow furrowed, Saint-Exupéry asked if it had been tough. Billy didn't say a word, just paused briefly before letting out a loud, abrupt laugh. Saint-Exupéry was profoundly moved at that moment. He said it was the noblest laughter he'd ever heard, and he soon became familiar with these veterans. As his training ended and he began working independently, these veterans became colleagues and comrades. Among them, he devoted the most ink and emotion in the book to his closest friend, Mermoz. Mermoz had worked 12 years for the company, his greatest contribution being repeatedly braving the South Atlantic's dangerous currents and penetrating the Andes Mountains to pioneer routes to South America. On his first South Atlantic crossing, he encountered terrifying weather. A tornado appeared ahead, turning seawater high into the air. The plane felt like it had crashed into shifting, unpredictable walls. Meanwhile, clouds above dumped rain mercilessly. For 4 full hours, Mermoz concentrated intensely, weaving through moonlit black water columns until he finally broke through the danger zone. He later recalled being so absorbed he forgot to feel fear. Ramos never calculated whether these things were worth it, since every mission could cost his life. He only knew one thing. He truly felt human only when crossing the Andes, because he believed that only through action, through wrestling with nature and personal destiny, does life gain meaning. So, over his 12-year career, Mermoz never shied away from even the most dangerous missions. He conquered deserts, mountains, night skies, and oceans, yet also crashed repeatedly in those same elements. He faced countless perils, like in 1926 when he crashed in the Sahara and was captured by anti-colonial insurgents. He was luckily rescued, but in 1930, while flying from Brazil to Senegal, mechanical failure forced an Atlantic ditching where his plane sank. He and his colleague protected all the mail aboard while barely escaping. Each time Mermoz returned, it was only to embark again, pushing the boundaries of his own existence. Finally, on December 7, 1936, he disappeared over the South Atlantic during another crossing, never to return. Besides Mermoz, there was Henri Guillaume, to whom Saint-Exupéry dedicated The Human Earth in tribute to this most respected comrade. Saint-Exupéry first connected with Guillaume during a flight mission. After training, Saint-Exupéry's first solo mission was transporting a plane full of mail to Spain. He felt excited but worried about potential mid-flight malfunctions causing dangerous emergency landings. So he sought advice from Guillaume, who'd flown that route. When they met, Guillaume first offered a drink for luck, then unfolded maps to review the journey together. Knowing his colleague faced a lonely, arduous journey, Guillaume shared everything he knew. He emphasized crucial details: 3 orange trees near a field, a stream, a venomous snake, even 30 sheep in potential landing zones, where failure to avoid them could cause crashes or deaths. This briefing left Saint-Exupéry utterly awestruck by Guillaume. He said Guillaume knew things even geographers ignored. Later, Guillaume faced mortal danger himself. On June 13, 1930, during his 92nd Andes crossing, a blizzard trapped him. He tried escaping through cloud gaps, but got sucked in, battling fiercely before breaking free. After 2 hours, with fuel exhausted, the plane crashed. He barely landed on the ground, but was trapped by the storm, forced to crawl under the cockpit, dig a hole in the snowdrift, and hide there for 2 full days and nights, unable to escape while waiting for the storm to pass. To search for Guillaume, Saint-Exupéry and his colleagues flew their plane straight into the towering mountains. After 5 days of searching with no results, they were nearing despair. But on the 7th day, learning Guillaume was alive, they immediately flew to guard a road leading out of the mountains, waiting for an approaching car. Saint-Exupéry instinctively knew Guillaume was in that vehicle. Sure enough, Guillaume emerged from the car looking barely human. They embraced tightly. Guillaume had finally outlasted the blizzard. Then in -40-degree cold, he trekked for 5 days and 4 nights straight, finally escaping with an Argentine boy's help. For those 5 days and 4 nights, he hadn't eaten a single bite. During the trek, he fell repeatedly. Each time he hit the ground, closing his eyes would end his suffering, freeing him from dragging his life's heavy burden like a beast of burden. Yet remembering his flying mission and awaiting colleagues, he resisted death's lure. Saint-Exupéry praised this colleague with deep affection. He said the greatness of being a pilot first unites them. Nothing replaces their flight trials or bonds forged through adversity. In truth, pilot fatalities were so common that when news came of someone not reaching their destination or returning, everyone understood. That colleague was gone. Drifting across the world, they developed a habit of anticipating reunions. If they unexpectedly met, they'd joyfully shake each other's shoulders, before continuing their journeys. Yet, at another reunion, they suddenly realize in unison they'd never again hear a certain colleague's hearty laughter. Indeed, in the early 20th century, when Saint Exupéry lived, aviation technology and ground communication were primitive, offering pilots almost no safety guarantees. Pilot emergencies were frequent, yet Saint-Exupéry valued discovering human meaning through flight. Well, he said imperfect technology left pilots unprotected, but we poured our hearts into these flawed machines. When working with planes, the issues weren't mechanical, but human. How we act, push limits, and overcome adversity. The book poetically describes becoming one with the plane during takeoff. He wrote that in the cockpit, as speed builds, the plane matures like a bird ready to soar, hands gripping the control stick, palms gradually sensing a divine power. The control stick became his metallic organ. When power peaked, a slight motion lifted the plane skyward, easier than taking something from a bag. Just for those seconds, pilots willingly walk life's edge day and night. Through plains and sky, through leaving and returning to Earth, Saint-Exupéry pondered humanity's bond with our planet. He said, planes aren't ordinary machines, but the most remarkable invention. Only with planes did we discover Earth's true face. For centuries, roads deceived us. Built for comfort, they trapped us in safe zones. In deserts, people followed oasis roads between villages and wells. Farmers walked daily from granaries to wheat fields, barns to pastures. Journeys revealed only irrigated fields, vineyards, and meadows. Thus, people believed their planet bountiful and gentle. But plains let us clearly see wells, oases, and farmlands. Granaries may be home, but they narrow our vision. From above, we grasp our smallness and ignorance. Plains lift us from Earth's fragments to see the whole. A base of mountains, sand and salt flats, humans scattered like moss on rubble, sparsely surviving in crevices. This is an immensely heavy realization. As long as people live comfortably, they mistakenly believe farmlands, oases, wells, roads, and villages are the entire world. Forgetting the vast spaces beyond, realms humans can neither conquer nor understand. Meanwhile, planes carry us from familiar places into the unknown, revealing others' faces across our planet. Once, Saint-Exupéry landed in Arenales, the final stop before Antarctica from South America. There stood a small town where men worked elsewhere, leaving only women. Leaning by a well, he watched young women moving about. Elderly women drew water, maids worked, and a child wept with head against a wall. Witnessing this, he suddenly grasped how vast the distance between people truly is. Though ignorant of others' struggles, recognizing human smallness didn't breed nihilism. Instead, it deepened gratitude. It made them cherish moments with the earth all the more. For instance, many of Saint-Exupéry's Sahara crossings suffered terrible signal reception. Once, he crash-landed in the desert at night, awaiting rescue. At dawn, he found himself on a mountain peak, beside a ravine, on life's edge, body pressed flat against the ground from neck to heels. He said, then I suddenly felt gravity, supreme like love. Another late Sahara flight with a signal operator found no supply station signals. Seeing seawater below, they realized they'd strayed and urgently turned to find the coast. Then thick fog blotted the moonlight. Dark clouds loomed, fuel dwindled, and hope faded. Just then, a light emerged on the left horizon, followed by others. Most were stars, only one was the desert supply station. Driven by survival, they raced toward starlight after starlight. Finally catching headquarters signal, they located the station and landed safely. In this thrilling process, it's the yearning for the earth. It constantly tugged at their anxious hearts. Saint-Exupéry said that only when a pilot sits in the cockpit, searching among countless stars for the planet called Earth, will one truly fall in love with their land. Even if no one on Earth cares about them, no one knows what they're doing. The relationship with the Earth is both a desire to escape and a deep attachment. Every time before reaching a midway supply station, pilots feel an impulse as if they've given up hope of returning to Earth. And after a successful landing, they passionately kiss the land, kiss the houses, thanking the home for its warmth and safety. As the book reaches its climax, Saint-Exupéry reiterates his philosophy of action. Philosophy: humans acquire meaning in life through action. Humans become human through action. In April 1937, Saint-Exupéry had left the Postal Aviation Company. He accepted a commission from Paris to come to Spain as a special correspondent covering the Spanish Civil War. He lived with soldiers and met one who had been an accountant in his hometown of Barcelona. When the Civil War broke out, his friends joined the army one by one, so he enlisted and became a sergeant. One day, at the frontline base, the sergeant was eating, playing chess, and chatting with comrades when suddenly the phone rang. Headquarters ordered an attack at dawn to capture several positions, an absurd decision tantamount to sending them to their deaths. But a soldier's duty is to obey superiors. After taking the call, he just shrugged. Then he told the sergeant, "Go to sleep. You'll be the first to go with me at dawn." Saint-Exupéry was present and saw the sergeant go to sleep, while others finished drinking and chatting before sleeping one by one. At dawn, someone came to wake the sergeant. He turned over and fell back asleep, as if refusing to return from dreams to this chaotic, cold, dark world. But when he turned over again and woke up, he quickly prepared for departure. Saint-Exupéry was amazed to see his expression relaxed, even smiling, illogical. A man knowingly setting out on a hopeless path, yet he smiled. Saint-Exupéry felt this soldier's smile shared the same noble power as a pilot's laughter. Their dawn assault mirrored pilots' early flights. Both were people of action, gladly embracing missions, joining comrades to share risks and glory, bringing profound fulfillment. Saint-Exupéry wrote, "Only when conscious of our mission do we find happiness, living and dying with peace. For life gains meaning, and death too." Thus, Saint-Exupéry's philosophy of action celebrates all mission-driven people who act courageously. He said, "Looking down from the cockpit at scattered lights, I see each as a human spirit shining. Some read, some ponder, some converse softly, some explore the cosmos, some calculate Andromeda's nebulae. Poets write, teachers teach, carpenters craft, but more places lie dark with sleeping spirits." He added, "I've spoken too much of pilots. Rare moments like aviation nights or desert nights elude most." So this book maintains a contrast between people immersed in action or work and idle, dormant, ordinary folk. Saint-Exupéry always boarded the company bus around 3 a.m. to the airport preparing to fly. En route, seeing weary customs officers and inspectors half asleep, he'd ponder petty bourgeoisie complacency, lifelong rigid work in one position. He'd also think of provincial French clerks silenced by red tape, leading monotonous lives. Their entire careers might unfold in a monastery, government office, or small shop. So what should they do? Saint-Exupéry said everyone possesses generous passion. Even in mundane work, one can seize chances to ignite this spirit and power to act. He first illustrated with two animal analogies. For example, domesticated ducks, seeing wild ducks migrate in formation, feel stirrings of their residual wildness. The second is antelopes. Saint-Exupéry once raised them, assuming these captive-bred animals were accustomed to safety and comfort. But one day, he discovered lambs using their horns to breach walls toward the desert. Whether ducks or antelopes, they never consider how leaving comfort could mean being shot by hunters or killed by beasts. But action's meaning can't be measured by risk. Even facing death after action surpasses lifelong dormancy. Human action doesn't require animal-like risks or pilots' extreme dangers. Saint-Exupéry said we must awaken innate passion not for peril, but to realize human potential and become better. At the book's end, he recounts a train journey experience. A train from France to Poland carried hundreds of unemployed Polish workers, men, women, children, in third class. Laid off by French employers and sent home, they slumped exhausted, emitting barracks-like odors. As Saint-Exupéry sighed, he noticed a nursing infant. Astonished, he thought, "This child is perfect, a delicate golden fruit." Yet his parents looked so decayed and defeated, like heaps of mud. Gazing at the baby's face, he wondered, would this flawless child become like his parents? This was clearly a musician's face, the childhood Mozart. With protection, care, and nurturing, he could achieve anything, but such opportunities were vanishingly rare. The odds of this child excelling were far slimmer than becoming ordinary like his parents. Rather than condemning inequality or turbulent times, Saint-Exupéry lamented how most never walk self-realization's path. He concluded, "In poverty as in idleness, people gradually adapt. They have no choice. Yet tragically all carry within some aborted Mozart." That's the essence of the human earth. Saint-Exupéry was a philosopher of action. He believed meaning lies in action. Its value surpasses life itself, for only engaged lives hold purpose. This crystallized his lifelong reflection and embodied the creed he lived through aviation's hardships. The French philosopher Sartre noted Saint-Exupéry proposed a unique humanitarianism. Why do I say that? Because mainstream humanitarianism is conservative, prioritizing dignity and basic rights, while his was proactive, urging potential fulfillment. Hence his sigh for Polish laborers wasn't pity for their plight, but grief over squandered possibilities. His action philosophy stemmed from flying and Nietzsche's influence. Nietzsche died in 1990, Saint-Exupéry's birth year, and he carried Nietzsche's works everywhere in youth. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche wrote, "You must go beyond yourself, farther and higher, until stars lie beneath your feet." These words struck young Saint-Exupéry like lightning. Later, he truly journeyed farther and higher. He piloted planes among stars, seeking truth. Though Nazis twisted Nietzsche's philosophy, Saint-Exupéry remained a staunch anti-fascist warrior. When France declared war in 2Y2, he flew reconnaissance missions against Nazi Germany. He championed action but never domination or war glorification. His novel, Flight to Arras, bluntly called Hitler an imbecile, getting it banned by German occupiers. It was later published in America. Critics hailed it as democracy's strongest rebuttal to Hitler's Mein Kampf. But on July 31st, 1944, Saint-Exupéry vanished during his 8th reconnaissance mission. He was only 44 at the time. Comrades called him Saint X during his lifetime, almost foretelling his mysterious disappearance. In his final work, The Little Prince, the extraterrestrial prince also vanishes on Earth, a strangely fitting destiny. France honored him profoundly posthumously, declaring him a war hero and printing his portrait with the Little Prince on enamel banknotes. On March 12, 1950, France's Defense Ministry published a tribute. As combat pilot, Saint-Exupéry was unwavering in devotion to France's destiny. As writer, his works stand as modern classics, amplifying France's spiritual mission. This tribute is engraved on a towering Mediterranean lighthouse's base. It serves as his epitaph, eternally remembered and revered. All right, that concludes our exploration of Saint-Exupéry's philosophical essay, The Human Earth. The reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.